Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Letitia LaFollette, President of the Archaeological Institute of America, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Awards Ceremony. Tonight, we have the distinct pleasure of recognizing individuals and groups who have made outstanding contributions to the field of archaeology. I look forward to sharing more about their exceptional work with you and to celebrating their achievements in this virtual format. Before we begin, I would like to let you know that tonight's event will be recorded on Zoom. And there's actually something on the screen now about your consent to being recorded, right? Please don't record it yourself. We do respect the intellectual property of our presenters, and we ask you to do the same. Thank you. Without further ado, I invite Brian Daniels, our Vice President for Cultural Heritage, to present the first two awards. Brian.
Thank you, Letitia. The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 Outstanding Public Service Award to Dr. Neil Brodie. Dr. Brodie is a Senior Research Fellow on the Endangered Archaeology of the Middle East and North Africa project at the University of Oxford. His archaeological career has included work on projects in the United Kingdom, Greece, and Jordan. He has held positions at the British School at Athens, the MacDonald Institute for Archaeological Research at the University of Cambridge, where he was Research Director of the Illicit Antiquities Research Centre, as well as Stanford University's Archaeology Centre and the Scottish Centre for Crime and Justice Research at the University of Glasgow. He is a member of the UK Committee of the Blue Shield, an expert member of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, a founding member of the Trafficking Culture Public Outreach Portal, and a corresponding member of the Archaeological Institute of America. Dr. Brodie is a prolific scholar whose work has mainstreamed the study of the illicit antiquities trade. He was co-author with Jennifer Duell and Peter Watson of the report Stealing History, commissioned by the Museums Association and ICOM UK to advise upon the illicit trade in cultural material. He also co-edited Archaeology, Cultural Heritage, and the Antiquities Trade with Morag Kersel, Christina Luke, and Catherine Walker-Tubb. Illicit Antiquities, The Theft of Culture and the Extinction of Archaeology with Catherine Walker-Tubb, and The Trade in Illicit Antiquities, The Destruction of the World's Archaeological Heritage with Jennifer Duell and Colin Renfrew. He has also published over 100 scholarly articles about the illicit antiquities trade, as well as his archaeological research in Cyprus and Greece. Dr. Brodie began working on the problem of the illicit antiquities trade as a research focus when few other archaeologists were willing to devote their careers to the issue. His work has advised governments, including the ratification of the 1954 Hague Convention in the United Kingdom. Dr. Brodie has contributed to our knowledge about the cultural, criminal, and economic aspects of the illicit trade in cultural objects, as well as the legal and ethical context of scholarly engagement with this trade. His innovative scholarship has framed serious questions about archaeological ethics, which are now a staple for undergraduate and graduate education in archaeology. He continues to serve as a mentor to young archaeologists interested in the illicit antiquities trade, including early career scholars in Syria and Iraq who are seeking to address rampant looting in their home countries. Few people have Dr. Brodie's breadth of knowledge on the nature and scope of the global illicit antiquities trade, or have made such a significant scholarly contribution. Throughout his career, Dr. Brodie has displayed considerable determination, diligence, and persistence to draw the attention of our field to the consequences of the illicit antiquities trade. In this work, he has been a tireless champion for preservation of archaeological heritage and is a worthy recipient of the AIA's Outstanding Public Service Award. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Neil Brodie.
Good evening. I'm honored to receive the Outstanding Public Service Award, and I am pleased and grateful that the Archaeological Institute of America has seen fit to recognize my work in this way. I've been working against the illicit trade in antiquities and other cultural objects for about 25 years now, and none of it would have been possible without the continuing support of a large number of individuals and organizations, including some previous recipients of this award. Most recently, over the past 5 years, my work has been made possible through the generous support of the Arcadia Fund, through the Endangered Archaeology of the Middle East and North Africa project. And I would particularly like to thank Maya Kaminko in this context. Congratulations too to all the other awards recipients here this evening. Well done, everybody. I hope to see you all next year. Thank you.
The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 award for outstanding work in digital archaeology to Dr. Elaine Sullivan for the project Constructing the Sacred, Visibility and Ritual Landscape at the Egyptian Necropolis of Saqqara. Constructing the Sacred documents how monograph publications can take advantage of digital media in a way that would not be nearly as effective in print. Rather than standing as supplements to Dr. Sullivan's argument, the interactive maps and 3D models are integrated and necessary components of that argument. Archaeology as a discipline still has very few models for how to assess digital projects, and the publication of this work by Stanford University Press goes a long way toward beginning to normalize born digital scholarship. The technologies used in the project are robust and sustainable. Good digital work does not have to be custom built from scratch, and the fact that Dr. Sullivan chose a ready-to-use platform means that she was able to focus her efforts on the argument and its clear communication. Furthermore, Dr. Sullivan goes beyond the research questions addressed by the project to show readers how she did the work and to provide access to all the well-documented source data. This allows readers to move from passive viewing to active engagement with the models and underlying data, and to see the implementation of good practices in data description. Constructing the Sacred, Visibility and Ritual Landscape at the Egyptian Necropolis of Saqqara demonstrates new ways of integrating digital materials and monograph publication, pushing the boundaries of what scholarship can be in a digital space. It is most deserving of the AIA's 2022 Outstanding Work in Digital Archaeology Award. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Elaine Sullivan.
Greetings to all of you here virtually at AIA. I'm Elaine Sullivan, an associate professor of history at UC Santa Cruz, and I'm accepting the AIA Award for Work in Digital Archaeology for my digital monograph, Constructing the Sacred, Visibility and Ritual Landscape at the Egyptian Necropolis of Saqqara. I'd like to thank Stanford University Press and the Mellon Foundation, who made the open access publication of this monograph possible, as well as the NEH, ACLS, National Geographic Society, and UC Santa Cruz for supporting this project with much appreciated funding at all of its various stages. I'd also like to give credit to the large team of GIS specialists, librarians, students at UCSC and UCLA, as well as my colleagues in Egyptology and archaeology, and my colleagues at Egypt Supreme Council of Antiquities, who all aided me in building this project, as well as in the field in Egypt. I'd also like to thank the AIA for acknowledging that digital work is a growing and important part of archaeological scholarship, and for offering this award to give credit to a few of the many projects who are attempting to find new ways to communicate the value of archaeological research through new digital methods. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for presenting these awards, and congratulations to Dr. Brodie and Dr. Sullivan. I now invite Laura Rich, the Vice President for Outreach and Education, to present the next two awards.
The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching Award to Professor Pamela Gaber. In a word, Professor Gaber's teaching prowess can be described as phenomenal. With 40 years of teaching experience under her belt, she is a renowned mentor with an enthusiastic and appreciative following of students, past and present, who ascribe their successes and growth to her excellent teaching and careful direction. Professor Gaber is universally known for going above and beyond as a teacher, encouraging students to participate in research programs and present research at conferences, counseling them to pursue postgraduate studies and careers that align with their skills and interests. Never content with the status quo as a teacher, she developed a program in Cyprus called Afterlife of Artifacts, first taught in 2018 and offered again in 2021, which teaches students about the processing of artifacts after excavation as they move from the ground to archaeological storerooms and museums. Since 2003, when her excavation joined with Lycoming College, she has consistently supervised and instructed students in the field. The popularity of that field program was so great that the college hired another archaeologist to support the influx of students into the archaeological curriculum. To Professor Gaber's colleagues, her distinction as a teacher is evident. They note that her establishment of the field school at Aidalion, Cyprus is a crowning achievement, and that her passion for teaching and training students is unrivaled. The provost and dean of Lycoming College describes Professor Gaber as, quote, a force in modernizing and expanding the archaeology curriculum, end quote. Students and colleagues both characterize her as a selfless, giving, kind, and colleagues say her enthusiasm for teaching is infectious. Professor Gaber is a most worthy recipient of the Archaeological Institute of America's Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching Award. Please join me in congratulating Professor Pamela Gaber.
Hello. After 30 years of teaching field schools on my excavations in Cyprus, our last season was 2017. I had been teaching in classrooms everything from introduction to archaeology through intermediate levels to the capstone experience in theory and method in archaeology. It occurred to me in 2017 what was missing was what happens to the stuff after we dig it up and before we study it in museums. So in 2018, I did the pilot season of the now ongoing program called Afterlife of Artifacts, which takes students abroad for a semester in Cyprus, where they work on material from my excavation that's in preparation for publication. They visit museums, they visit archaeological sites, they discover and research what happens to Cypriot artifacts today in Cyprus and in other museums outside Cyprus. Also, what has happened in Western museums with Cypriot collections from 1850 to today. So finally, at last, I feel that I've covered everything from why we do what we do, how we do what we do, what happens to what we dig up, and how we prepare and publish. So that covers everything.
That's wonderful. Congratulations. The Archaeological Institute of America and the Center for American Archaeology are pleased to present the 2022 Felicia A. Holton Book Award for a major work of nonfiction written for the general public to Dr. Sarah Parcak for her book, Archaeology from Space: How the Future Shapes Our Past. Archaeology from Space is a lively and personal introduction to the field of archaeology from space. Dr. Parcak explains how satellite imagery and remote sensing can help us do better archaeology and improve our understanding of the human past. She enlivens discussion of archaeological methodology through a compilation of the greatest hits of her young but impressive career thus far as a field archaeologist. The reader travels with the author from the sites of Tanis and Lisht in the Nile Delta to Point Rossi on the Atlantic coast of Canada to the Cañete Valley in southern Peru. She clearly lays out how satellite imagery enhances and complements tried and true archaeological field methods like field survey and excavation. She also illustrates vividly how it can be used as a tool to combat looting, a formidable and ubiquitous problem faced worldwide. Dr. Parcak's book also brings to life the heterogeneity of archaeological practices and approaches. It blends the hard science of archaeological methods with the art of its interpretation. As with the best archaeological work, it is this combination of technical brilliance and scientific data with personal experience and humanistic learning and even imaginative reconstruction that makes her book so compelling. This skilled analysis is not an end in itself, but yields an appreciation of the broad scope of human history and sheds light on the remarkable lives led by regular people. Archaeology from Space is a rare book in that it expertly combines engaging narratives and vibrant prose with scholarly content. Most of all, it does a remarkable job at informing its reader about the modern state of archaeology while providing a thrilling glimpse at its field's future. For these reasons and more, Dr. Parcak's Archaeology from Space is a most deserving recipient of the Felicia A. Holton Book Award. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Sarah Parcak. I will say she sent the following remarks that I will now read on her behalf. Hi, everyone. I just got off a 24-hour return flight from Cairo, and she just sent this email. I am unfit for anything involving consciousness. Like everything, nothing is working right now, including me. However, there are still lovely things like this incredible book award, which was so wonderful and unexpected and sweet. I am grateful to the Holton Book Award Committee and the large cast of characters who helped me to birth Archaeology from Space and my wonderful readers. I wanted to leave you with a thought I had wandering around the temples and tombs of Luxor in this great time of upheaval. The word for archaeology in Arabic, athar, does not mean archaeology, but remnant, all that is left behind in the end. And in these times in which emails do not find us well, remember the good you do every day with 100 small and larger kindnesses are building towards your future remnants. I know everything is impossible, but kindness and love are not. And that's what we find again and again from ancient Egypt and cultures around the world. I see a lot from space, but we know the good stuff is buried in the ground and in all of us. Live so your remnants matter. Much love, Sarah.
Very nice. Thank you, Laura, for presenting these awards. Congratulations to Professor Gaber and Dr. Parcak. I now invite Thomas Tartaron, Vice President for Research and Academic Affairs, to present the next two awards.
Thank you. The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 Anna Marguerite McCann Award for Fieldwork Reports to Dr. Joy McCorriston and Dr. Michael J. Harrower for their publication, Landscape History of Hadramawt, The Roots of Agriculture in Southern Arabia, RASA, Project 1998 to 2008, Coxon Institute of Archaeology Press, 2020. Landscape History of Hadramawt is the publication of an expansive project by an American Yemeni team working with local Bedouin collaborators in an area that is now under threat and inaccessible to archaeologists. The fieldwork combined extensive and intensive survey, test excavations, and architectural documentation with paleoecology, geomorphology, and hydrology studies to examine research questions related to the migrations of early human populations and the spread of Neolithic packages in Southern Arabia. The volume's conclusions are important not only for the archaeology of the region, but equally for its arguments about the diffusion of early domesticates and as a work of climate history that focuses on water resources to understand landscape change. The publication celebrated here admirably demonstrates how field research, archaeoscience, and theoretical approaches can be integrated and brought to bear on topics of enduring interest for those who study the human past. This close relationship is reflected in its chronological organization, which incorporates discussion of the full spectrum of evidence and argumentation for each period. Every chapter presents a wealth of well-studied, clearly described, and well-illustrated primary data that are framed to address the project's primary research questions. This pattern is also visible in the impressive section on the use of Bayesian statistics to analyze the C14 and OSL data from sites and geological deposits in order to develop an absolute chronology for the Holocene in southern Arabia. In addition, the committee praised the reflexive discussions of the social and ethnographic context of the project itself that were woven into the text. This work presents a vast amount of archaeological data and excels as a model of conscientious, multidisciplinary archaeological publication of the highest standard. While its conclusions are central for research on early agriculture in Arabia and society in the region's early pastoral landscapes, they are very likely to contribute to research well beyond the AIA's traditional core. We further laud McCorriston and Harrower for bringing this project to publication in a timely manner. In short, Landscape History of Hadramawt is an exemplary volume that embodies the values and principles of archaeological publication and is deeply deserving of the AIA's second Anna Marguerite McCann Award for Fieldwork Reports. Please join me in congratulating Doctors McCorriston and Harrower.
Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Joy McCorriston at The Ohio State University, and it's a tremendous pleasure to be here with you today, even in virtual space. On behalf of the team who wrote the grants, who participated in the fieldwork, who did so much of the writing and editing, I am delighted to accept the Anna Marguerite McCann Award for Fieldwork Reports from the Archaeological Institute of America for 2022. Thank you very much for the honor of this award. I want to add that this is a multidisciplinary, multilingual, and multinational effort, and that the Yemeni team who participated in so many ways in making this project a success have already received copies of the volume and are thrilled to hear about the award. So on behalf of my colleagues and participants, I want to thank you for the honor, and I wish you all success with the rest of the meeting.
In addition to Joy's remarks, Mike Harrower extends his deep appreciation for this award. The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 James R. Wiseman Book Award to Dr. Allison L.C. Emerson for her book, Life and Death in the Roman Suburb, Oxford University Press, 2020. This book is a study of the suburban spaces of Roman Italy with an emphasis on the period between the 1st century BCE and the 3rd century CE, ranging also through earlier and later periods. Dr. Emerson challenges the notion that suburbs in this period were funereal, industrial, polluted landscapes. On the contrary, she paints a picture of suburban landscapes where tombs, shops, houses, industrial structures, sanctuaries, places of public entertainment, and recycling facilities coexist in lively interaction with each other and with the urban spaces within the walls. Dr. Emerson challenges and re-examines archaeological data old and new, and reinterprets ancient sources in the context of her new paradigm of the suburb. She is self-consciously not comprehensive in covering all aspects of suburban life, noting that she does not cover such features as agriculture, water management infrastructure, quarries, or military installations. She chooses rather to build a narrative in support of her thesis as a point of departure for further research. In this, she is entirely convincing. How have we misunderstood these spaces so thoroughly? Well, it's a long story with evidence poorly interpreted at several junctures, but Dr. Emerson's individual chapters on tombs, workshops, amphitheaters, sanctuaries, and waste management reset the course. The resulting synthesis draws most heavily on case studies of archaeological data from old and new excavations, at the same time as it provides new and clever readings of ancient sources. It would be difficult to imagine a book more worthy of this year's James R. Wiseman Book Award. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Allison Emerson.
Thank you. Thank you to the AIA and to the Wiseman Award Committee for this incredible honor. Thanks as well to the institutions that made the work possible, Tulane University, the American Council of Learned Societies, and the American Academy in Rome. I also want to thank all of my fellow fellows and everyone at the Academy where this book was written and which thoroughly infuses every page. All of my friends and colleagues from Cincinnati to Rome to New Orleans to Pompeii and everywhere in between, you know who you are and you know how integral you were to this work. Of that group, I have to pull out the team from the Pompeii Archaeological Research Project, Brodie, as well as especially Gina Tibbett, who made the incredible illustrations that are found throughout the book. I also want to thank my family, especially my husband, Nate, who lived every step of this project, as well as my mom, who is a writer herself and from whom I've learned so much. Thank you all. I'm incredibly honored, incredibly humbled, and just thrilled to be the recipient of this year's Wiseman Award.
Thank you, Tom, for presenting those awards, and congratulations to Drs. McCorriston, Dr. Harrower, and Dr. Emerson. I now invite Sabrina Higgins, the Vice President for Societies, to present the next two awards.
Because the winner of the 2021 Graduate Student Paper Award was selected after last year's award ceremony, we were not able to include them in the 2021 ceremony. I would like to take this opportunity to formally recognize the winner now. The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to bestow the first prize for the 2021 Graduate Student Paper Award to Ms. Tara Trahey for her paper, The Brother and Sister Stele Sphinx Has a Vagina, presented at last year's virtual annual meeting. Taking the well-known brother and sister stela in the Metropolitan Museum of Art as its main subject, with reference to the material evidence in other examples of sculpted sphinxes from the 6th and 5th centuries BCE, Ms. Trahey makes the astute observation that the sphinxes depicted have clearly articulated female genitalia. This previously unnoticed detail allows her to offer a rich argument connecting the Sphinx with female daimons and the divinities kidnapping youths depicted in other Greek funerary monuments and vase painting. This research would suggest a protective dimension to Sphinx imagery has implications for the interpretation of mythic and iconographic tradition of Sphinxes across many media, and particularly invites radical reconsideration of the function of Sphinx imagery on funerary stelae, in sculpture, and in vase painting of the archaic and classical periods. We are delighted to honor Ms. Trahey with the Graduate Student Paper Award, and please join me in congratulating her.
Hi, I'm Tara Trahey, and I'm sorry that I can't be there in person to accept this award, but I'm very grateful to have received the Graduate Student Paper Award, and I would like to thank those who have helped me along the way. In particular, I would like to thank Sheila Dillon, professor in the Department of Art History, and Visual Studies at Duke University, and I would like to thank Tim Shea, assistant professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, for his comments and feedback. I would also like to thank my advisor, Clemente Marconi at the Institute of Fine Arts. It was in his class that this observation sort of first came about, so I'm very grateful for that experience. I am currently studying this iconography in its Etruscan context, so I look forward to sharing future developments on that front with you all sometime in the future. Again, thank you for this award. I am incredibly honored to have been selected, and I look forward to future meetings where I can hopefully be there in person. Thanks again.
The Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to present the 2022 Martha and Artemis Joukowsky Distinguished Service Award to Dr. Nancy DeGrummond. Dr. DeGrummond's active participation in the AIA began immediately following the completion of her PhD in art history at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She became a member of the Tallahassee Society in 1968 and has since served as that chapter's president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and program director. With a grant from the AIA in 1976, she organized the first regional symposium of the Tallahassee Society called, quote, "What is Etruscan?" unquote, and published the proceedings in Archaeological News. That same year, she founded the Florida State University Student Archaeology Club, a collaborating partner of the Tallahassee Society, which has helped draw many FSU students to the study of archaeology. In 1985, she co-founded the AIA Gainesville Society. Recently, she has integrated her work as the Director of Excavations at Mura del Chianti in Italy with archaeology in her local community, including an exhibition on 3D printing of archaeological artifacts from the site that she organized for International Archaeology Day. She has shared the joy of touching and handling 3D printed vases, cups, plates, and other ancient artifacts of everyday life with children from the Lighthouse of the Big Bend in Tallahassee, which serves children with visual disabilities. Beyond her local service to the AIA, she has served on the AIA governing board and the executive committee. She has chaired the Gold Medal Committee twice and the program for the annual meeting committee, and she served on numerous AIA committees, including nominating, lecture, archives, publication, and publication subvention. She co-hosted the 2012 AIA Gala in New York, and in 2015, she was the recipient of the AIA Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching Award. Since 1978 and continuing to the present day, she has lectured to more than 57 local societies across America and Canada, holding many of the AIA's distinguished lectureships. Additionally, she served on the editorial board for Archaeology Magazine and Dig Magazine. She's also been a peer referee for the American Journal of Archaeology for many years. Dr. Nancy DeGrumman is richly deserving of this year's Martha and Artemis Joukowsky Award for her distinguished service to the Archaeological Institute of America. Please join me in congratulating Dr. DeGrumman.
Thank you so very much for that gratifying citation. I'm humbled and honored by this unexpected recognition. Just let me say that if I was giving service to the AIA, it was equally true that AIA was serving me and my colleagues and students and friends. I've always thought that AIA was a superior academic organization, unique in its structure of local societies and a national lecture program. The Institute has served me with its annual meeting, its 2 periodicals, its grants, its committees, its awards, and its social occasions of dinners and, yes, parties. The lecture program has always meant the most to me, giving me the opportunity for exchange with colleagues, both in Tallahassee and on the road. Tonight, I thank the Institute wholeheartedly for all it has contributed to my professional and personal life and for honoring me with the Joukowsky Award for 2022.
Thank you, Sabrina, for presenting those awards. Congratulations to Ms. Trehi and Dr. DeGrumman. I now invite Elizabeth S. Green, our first Vice President, to present the next award.
Thank you, Letitia. In recognition of his distinguished record of contributions to the advancement of archaeological science, the Archaeological Institute of America is pleased to award Dr. Matthew J. Collins the 2022 Pomerance Award for Scientific Contributions to Archaeology. Dr. Collins is the MacDonald Professor in Paleoproteomics at the University of Cambridge and the Niels Bohr Professor of Paleoproteomics at the University of Copenhagen. Previously Professor of Archaeology at the University of York, establishing the leading BioArc Research Center, Dr. Collins largely established the important field of paleoproteomics, the recovery and analysis of sets of remnant proteins from ancient materials, and, with his former PhD student, Dr. Michael Buckley, developed the key ZOOMS technology, zooarchaeology by mass spectrometry, that has revolutionized rapid identification of bone and other collagen-based materials through peptide mass fingerprinting. Proteins are abundant, but their archaeological and geological importance was largely overlooked until the work of Dr. Collins. The pioneering development of the low-cost peptide mass fingerprinting zooms technique opened their use in archaeological and historical studies, with investigation of identification and processes of decay, enabling geochronological applications, as well as recovery of species-specific ancient peptide sequences. His temporal span is vast and global, with topics ranging from human population history in pre-Anglo-Saxon Britain to the origins of dairying. One significant innovation is his use of electrostatic extraction to recover protein from medieval manuscripts. This enables exploration of ancient parchment production, geographical patterning of species utilization, and the role of exotic species products in their bindings. Other work, such as development of a thermal age tool to predict DNA survival, has transformed practice among the archaeological and heritage science communities. Dr. Collins is notable for his commitment to interdisciplinary research, support for the development of early career researchers, over 20 PhD students, and over a dozen postdocs, his championing of open access data sharing, and his boundless energy and creativity for nurturing new ideas with profound impacts on the field. His major achievements in archaeology have been recognized by his election to the British Academy in 2014. His field-leading status in the study of ancient proteins was highlighted both by the award of a Niels Bohr Chair in Paleoproteomics in 2016 and an ERC Advanced Grant Award in 2018 for his project B2C, Beasts to Craft, Investigating DNA in Ancient Parchments. For all of these reasons, the Archaeological Institute of America is delighted to bestow on Dr. Matthew Collins the 2022 Pomerance Award for Scientific Contributions to Archaeology. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Matthew Collins.
Thank you so much. I was surprised, and I suspect that many of my colleagues were surprised. I'm not the greatest archaeologist, and those that know me know I'm an even worse bench scientist. So for me to get the award, it really reflects the team that I've worked with and the wonderful discipline that I work in, archaeology. I just wish that more science teachers at high school and science programs at university recognize the way that archaeology is such a wonderful medium for teaching how science can be applied and how it can be integrated into that wider body of scholarship, which means that we as archaeologists study the most interesting questions in the most interesting ways. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Liz, and congratulations to Dr. Collins. I will now present our final award. The Archaeological Institute of America is proud to award the 2022 Gold Medal Award for Distinguished Archaeological Achievement to Elizabeth B. Ventris. Dr. Ventris has transformed our knowledge and understanding of ancient Mediterranean history and archaeology across a remarkable range of space and time. As an excavator and survey archaeologist of Roman Africa and Italy, her work has consistently framed the Mediterranean as a center of relations and frictions, emphasizing the importance of local indigenous traditions and adaptations to multiple presences. She is an outstanding field archaeologist with legendary technical talent and skills. Above all, her ability to read and grasp the meaning of stratigraphic evidence across many horizons. Dr. Ventris is equally highly regarded for her brilliance in interpreting landscapes in broader terms to understand population changes, economic shifts, changes in material use, and religious developments. Her most recent research on diaspora, language change, and slavery is the natural continuation of a career devoted to exploring the Mediterranean and its shores as places of constant movement and meeting. Extraordinarily impressive is her ability to publish detailed excavation reports and synthetic thought pieces in a timely manner. Her published work is theoretically aware and sophisticated while remaining empirically grounded in archaeological evidence. She has authored or co-authored 3 books on North Africa and 1 on Italy, has edited or co-edited 3 more books on North Africa and 5 on Italy. The scholarly articles she has authored or co-authored include 44 on North Africa, 35 on Italy, 7 on archaeological theory, 4 on Roman history, and 1 on epigraphy, plus 21 review articles and 14 book reviews. Also of great significance is her work to replace and extend the Fasti Archaeology with Fasti Online and the online journal Fold and R, Fasti Online Documents and Research, and her work to put online the archives of colonial archaeology in the Mediterranean, Nahan. This remarkable career has moreover been pursued without the benefit of a standard academic affiliation. Dr. Ventris has served as a mentor and colleague to generations of scholars. Her work with local partners in Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, and on developing collegial relationships with local archaeologists, academics, and authorities wherever she works, has been of immense service to the field in Europe, North Africa, and the US. She has trained generations of scholars, introducing archaeologists to each other in the field, as well as from her home, reading drafts of manuscripts and talking through ideas at length. She has substantially supported other archaeologists' work by facilitating and imagining cooperative contexts, as well as by offering unique hospitality that forges unexpected friendships and collaborations. As one letter writer comments, the lessons he learned from Dr. Ventris in, quote, archaeological methods, research ethics, grace and understanding in interactions with local scholars and local communities, project logistics, and overall directorial leadership skills launched my transformation from student to professional, unquote. Another summarizes, in all her undertakings, Lisa Ventris has nurtured students and supported colleagues, encouraging their participation in fieldwork and publications. Her generosity of spirit has touched all who know her, end quote. The exchange of ideas and techniques she regularly fosters has enriched archaeological practice and understanding across national boundaries and scholarly generations. For all these reasons, Dr. Ventris has richly earned the highest honor the AIA can bestow, the Gold Medal for Distinguished Archaeological Achievement. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Elizabeth Ventris.
I am deeply thankful for, honored, and still amazed by the gold medal. Last thing I expected after a career of having a wonderful time. I'm grateful to so many of you, Guy and Joe and Seth, who put letters together, who organized that great panel, everyone who contributed to it, and more widely, all those with whom I've excavated, surveyed, and generally had that wonderful time. Archaeology is a team sport without a ball, thank heavens. And I've been part of amazing teams. But there's one person I have to thank more extensively. My husband, James, made all this possible. He looked after our 3 children for months on end, fed and housed countless friends, colleagues, students, and put up with thousands of hours of academic gossip, archaeological theory, while still making everyone feel welcome. Thank you, James. But if I reflect on the past 45 years, there's one thing I would like to stress, and that is that I've been lucky because I understood that I was a guest in the Mediterranean. The realization that the ancient Mediterranean was a multicultural place and that statues weren't white has come belatedly to classical archaeology, but it has come, and curricula are starting to show it. As we step backwards into history, in Amanda Gorman's wonderful phrase, we do so with the knowledge that we're not looking in a mirror. But what I want to talk about this evening is another thing, the process of archaeology in the Mediterranean today. This is where most of us do fieldwork, where we excavate, survey, study collections. And of course, it has as many cultures and ethnicities as the ancient Mediterranean, if not more. My worry is that many American projects are still struggling to interact with those cultures in anything but a very colonial way. Luckily for me, my own experience has been very different. When, as a grad student, I found that I couldn't do my planned survey in Algeria for lack of a vis-a-vis, I swallowed and asked the director of antiquities, the fabulous Munir Bushnaki, if there was anything he wanted doing, since I had the funding and the month free. He looked at me in surprise and said, "No one's ever asked us that before. Would you like to direct our rescue excavations in Saqqara?" And so after some vicissitudes, I did, and began a long career in North Africa, where I've had the luck to work with some of the most fabulous co-directors on earth. All the countries in the Maghreb have now got same 50-50 policies for staff and students, and our volunteers meet, interact with, and become friends with their future colleagues. Our students need these contacts, and we need the help of our peers in so many ways. Truly collaborative research in a country is advantageous for all concerned for obvious reasons. This extends not only to the practice of a project, but to its inception. What does the country you work in need doing? What research will help both partners? We'll be hearing more of this in Letitia Laffollette's panel on decolonizing archaeology tomorrow. But even there, I note that only one of the papers deals with the Mediterranean and none with classical archaeology. But this could be taken further. If your university has a long-term research project in, say, Egypt, why not set up an association with the best university archaeology department, exchanging students and staff? Skills transfer works both ways. And if we still have an edge in technology in some circumstances, there is deep knowledge and technical skills that only people who've grown up working on sites can share. But above all, it's the human relationships that make a collaborative project infinitely more valuable. We need to be post-colonial, not only in our rhetoric, but in our practice. And by creating an understanding that habits of thought and reactions are not the same everywhere, we may shed some of our own tendency to envision ancient Mediterraneans as soft puppets for our own concerns. And so I want to end this brief response with thanks to those colleagues, Moroccan, Algerian, Tunisian, Italian, and French, who have made archaeology in the Mediterranean over the last 45 years the most extraordinary experience and the most fun you can have. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lisa, for those wonderful remarks. Before I conclude this year's award ceremony, I want to recognize the Society Award winners who were formally celebrated at this year's Society Brunch on Sunday, January 2nd. They include the Salt Lake City Society for the Golden Trowel Award, the Williamsburg Society for the Lecture Flyer Award, Melva Price of the Jacksonville Society for the Foot Soldier Award, and Andrew Goldman of the Spokane Society for the Lifesaver Award. This concludes the 2022 AIA Awards Ceremony. I would like to thank you all for attending tonight's celebration virtually over Zoom. Please join me in a final round of applause for all the award winners. And finally, if you're interested in supporting the Institute further, I encourage you to consider a gift to the annual fund, which provides resources for archaeologists and projects like the ones you've heard about this evening. You can donate online at archaeological.org/donate. Thank you and good night.